that for those who don't know, Nerdist does have the YouTube channel that's coming out.
Yeah. It's April 2nd we launched, and we have a bunch of programming and Neil Patrick Harris Rob Dominant. A cosplay show, a comic book show. Like, we're doing a lot of short and long form programming. We're doing a science show. So we're going to announce our full lineup in a couple of weeks. But it'll be fun. It'll be relevant to your interests,
I'm assuming it will be. And so is this the death, like, there was the networks, there were the big four, and then we saw cable come along and sort of fragment the market, and content got more niche and focused. And now this is it, right? This is like the cart is rattling. This is the death knell for sort of for cable and all that. Because now you don't need just a show about fashion. You can have a show about shoes, but you can have a show about a very particular type of shoe.
Well, your show can be really like my grandma's slippers, and it's literally your grandmother's slippers. Right. And enough people could watch that.
Right, and it can have enough audience to grow and get ad sales. Like,
it's definitely, the change is happening, but it's the delivery system that's lacking. It's like the reason podcast tip was because iTunes made the delivery system very easy, and you didn't have to like get a crazy player in the Og Warbus format or whatever.
Oh, we love that Og.
Yeah, and so you know, when someone actually creates something, and maybe it's the Apple Television, or maybe when Google TV streamlines, and it's easy for consumers to just get the same content on their TV, and then everything turns into one cable. Then it'll really change.
They've been promising that for 5 years. They've always said it's going to be internet on TV. Then Google TV came out, which I was a huge fan of. And the moment I tried to watch an episode of South Park off their website, it popped up and it said, "Oh, you're using a Google TV. Fuck you!"
Right.
And it just wouldn't play the episode. And I realized like all the content creators now are doing this land grab for you can only watch my content in my app and my thing if you have an account here. And I feel like it's getting so fragmented.
There's a lot of geo-blocking too. Like, I've done some things online and whatnot, and with other people that own things, like corporations and whatnot. And you'll always hear from people in Canada who are like, "I can't watch your thing," or people in England who are like, "I can't watch it."
Are you disappointed in the internet when that happens?
Very much
I can see 9 videos of cats scaring themselves with their own farts, and I can't watch this show from England? Anywhere?
But I get more disappointed in the audience because I'm like, you guys can figure out how to download an album before it exists. Like, crack this code, man. It's just a fucking wall of some sort. But to me, it's like...
I think you could do it with proxy servers, you know, like you make the computer think that you're in somewhere else.
You can rent a server and sort of route your internet packets through somebody else's website.
I'm done thinking about that. Do that.
I went to watch Jurassic Park the other day, and I legitimately spent 45 minutes trying to pay for the content, and I couldn't do it. Couldn't find it on Sony, couldn't find it on the Xbox, it wasn't on Netflix, couldn't find it anywhere. Just couldn't pay for it when I tried. I went on fucking BitTorrent, there were 6 different versions of it. The Criterion Blu-ray was there. I downloaded it in less than 3 minutes, and I had it on my TV. And I was like, why can't they figure this shit out?
I would have just reenacted it for you.
What was it?
I would have just reenacted the movie for you. Hey, welcome to Jurassic Park!
Oh my god! Poison's better! Do the poison's better!
Jeff Goldblum, and I talked to his house, and find a way. Oh my god! There's the guy from Seinfeld just trying to fit.
This is Unix. I know this.
I'm the lawyer. I'm dead. T-Rex. Oh, he's famous from the other guy. Yay! We all learned a thing. Let's abandon this island.
There's so many of us that don't need to watch it now.
Were you a fan of the Jurassic Park, Spencer?
Actually, I'm a huge fan of Jurassic Park 2. Like, I really like that movie. Three I'm not into, but 2 I liked, with Jeff Goldblum and his half-black daughter and all of that. And,
I don't remember anything.
And Vince Vaughn during his dramatic acting phase, where Vince Vaughn would be in dramatic roles.
Yeah.
And in Jurassic Park 2, I think he did a good job. I
What was
really
his
do.
role in Jurassic Park 2?
He was, he was some sort of dinosaur expert that like was in love with Julianne Moore, who was also a dinosaur expert. We can talk about this later. I find it interesting that there's like, it feels like, it might just be me because I'm a performer, I'm on stage.
No one else is. Yeah.
it might just be me, but like, it feels like there's a huge section of people over there that are talking amongst themselves as if this is not happening.
Oh, well, you know, there is a party sort of atmosphere happening where voices may travel.
So they should treat us like we're a band.
Yeah.
And create sections where they just talk among themselves.
Yeah. They're real-time tweeting and discussing and socially analyzing.
They just quieted down a little bit as soon as I mentioned that. They're like, oh, I have to tweet about this. Doug Benson's being a bitch about how we're not paying attention.
I think they're so fucked up. They're in the corner saying the same thing about us.
There's a mini lead-up over there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
I guarantee you what they're talking about over there is like the one guy on stage hit a man.
There is a total brute on stage that I do not.
We might get beat up at the lead-up.
Oh my god, it was the worst. It was the worst lead up when we got beat up.
That'll be the It will be. Kevin, anything you want to promote before we get to the audience interaction that Dr. Doug Benson is very excited
Yes,
for?
I would love to promote the fact that, see how easy this is, kids? People just sit around and talk to each other now, and this passes for entertainment, man. The world is yours. When we were younger, people were forced to, we were just talking about backstage, people were forced to write fucking scripts and learn lines and build sets and fake dinosaurs and shit. But now, we've got to a place where, like, the audience is willing to sit around and watch, like, 2 people talk to each other, 5 people talk to each other, and that's beautiful because it's just conversation, and anybody can do this. That means y'all could leave here tonight, go home, sit down with your fucking friends, record a similar conversation. It counts as entertainment, and if you do it long enough, somebody will fucking pay you for it. So, embrace, go out, open your computer, start texting into it. Continue jerking off as well, of course. Or rubbing off, but also for the ladies. But also, but record, get in there and record. That counts, see? That counts.
I feel like this is like when you're like, yeah, whatever. That's sort of sexist. I'm trying to promote this. Yeah, whatever.
By the way, I feel like you're compensating a little bit too much if you're grabbing above your own head to shout. I'm just really getting the tip.
Beat 3
Oh my God, you're a slave to your own kids. That's a horrible story.
It's exhausting. I don't know how I do it. Oh, can't we just watch Valentine's Day and
It's like you're trying to brush a giraffe's neck. It's such a weird thing. Like you're trying to climb it. But I do think that is a beautiful and valid point, good sir, because I think that we've been bombarded with so much, and there's explosions and
Oh, well, I thought you were still talking about it.
No.
It's beautiful. I was like,
It's a beautiful, poignant thing, yes.
listen, young lady, I'm gonna bombard you with explosions.
Yeah, from the line to the red line. I'm Clifford.
It looks like a pitbull got into a jar of mayonnaise.
Just
It's really good. Like someone just ran over Miracle Whip with a lawnmower.
I don't know what that.
I'm sorry, that was an overshare. Sir Hardwick, promote away, good sir, because you have a million irons in this proverbial fire.
There's well, Talking Dead is on for a couple more weeks.
I fucking love this. To me, this is a show that cracks the code, man. It's kind of like for years, you'd watch sports, or someone would watch sports, not me, and they would have people sit around and talk about the sports as they were happening while the sports were taking a minute break or something like that. And people would literally just analyze what we just watched, and that counted for years. And Talking Dead is literally like people sitting around, they just watched The Walking Dead, and they're like, isn't it fucked up that the zombies ate people? And they're like, yeah. It's amazing, right? That's Google it, and that fucking counts. It's awesome. It's like the idea of like, if you used to watch that show and there was no Talking Dead, you would go in to work the next day and be like, did you see the fucking Walking Dead? But now they literally have a show right afterwards where they sit around and have the water cooler.
I'm like, did you see the fucking Walking Dead?
We just did, yeah. Oh, it's so good. I like that
The
show.
water cooler is the show.
It was, yeah.
And it's great. It's so great. It's really fun.
It's fun. So so that show, and then I got Greg Nicotero made me up in zombie makeup for this next episode. Yeah, it was amazing. So then, and then there's the Nerdist TV show on BBC America, and then the Nerdist channel, YouTube.com/Nerdist, and then our podcast.
Taking over the internet.
It's just like what Kevin said. I mean, it really is. Whatever, there's no excuse now for people to not follow what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
The technology is there. You can find your audience, and honestly, if you just stay with it, by virtue of just being around long enough, like you'll be ahead of 98% of people because most people just give up, and so you're automatically, So just if you're passionate about something, just fucking stick with it, and don't give up.
It's a great time to be creative. There's a lot of ways. It used to be one road into this business. Now there are a bunch of back doors and shit like that.
The back door was the road in.
For some of us.
Yeah, you used to have to take it in the ass, but now there's lots of ways.
Thank you for clarifying, Doug. For those who didn't quite get it.
There's lots of other ways other than getting fucked in the ass.
It used to be a very top-down business where a company would say, like, here's who's going to be on entertainment. And now it's very bottom-up where you guys, the consumers, the creators, yeah, exactly. You guys have all the power now, so it's kind of it's a fun time.
I say to my kid all the time.
Ass joke.
Kid, I like it. I tell my kid all the time, and I try to pass this on to other people as well. Like, she's a big fan. This is going back a couple years. I stopped saying it because she's moved on from it. But she used to sit around and watch iCarly all the time. And I was like, why do you do that? She's like, I like it a lot. I was like, right on, I get you. But I'll tell you one thing. Watching iCarly is fun. Writing iCarly is way funner because you can make them do anything you want. They can even fuck each other if you want. She was 9 when I said that. And, but that's why it's like you could watch or you can do. And in this world, it used to be like the world we grew up in, you watched and that was fucking it. And the idea of doing what those people you watched did was just like, oh, those are the lucky few. Now it's open to everybody. Now we, as much as we watch and like to be entertained, we can be entertaining as well. We can put something else out there. So do it.
You sort of cracked that. You're like one of the earliest adopters. I mean, like Clerks really ushered in the era. Independent filmmakers. I'm like, oh my God, you can just get some people that you're friends with and get a camera and just make a thing and get it out.
Why not?
Let's talk about Star Wars and film it. And that's what you did, and it's amazing. It's so great.
And that's what's really neat is years later, like that, there it was like, let's write a script and we'll find a set and we'll shoot people. Years later, you do away with the script, you just sit around and talk about Star Wars. And if you're doing it with witty people and shit, you can keep it going for a while. It's kind of fun. Or you just sit around and talk about things that you don't normally talk about. Like to me, the best part about coming out tonight was listening to Greg talk about getting in a fight. I don't know anybody that fights, so I was just like, what is that like?
That was my favorite part also.
I don't know. It's just the art of conversation was lost for a long time in this country. It was, or it belonged to certain folks. Like you had a radio show, you had this forum to like open your mind. Like I grew up listening to fucking Stern. I'm sure a lot of people grew up listening to Stern. And I would sit there and be like, oh, what a dream job. Here's a dude who literally just fucking talks about his life. Talks about his wife and whether or not he has sex with her. Talks about his kids. Talks about people not liking him, people that liking him. I was like, what a dream job. And so years later, like when I saw the podcasting was taking off, Ricky Gervais's podcast was taking off, and somebody I'd never listened to it. Somebody's like, well, you should try this podcasting. I said, what is it? And there was like, it's kind of like a commentary track, but without the movie. And I was like, oh, I could do that. And suddenly when I started doing it, I was like, oh my God, you can't never be Howard Stern, but you can be a little bit like Howard Stern by fucking putting out your own podcast, talking about your own life, building your own audience, man. And it's like, why should someone else have all the fun? You could have the fun as well. Yeah, I don't know. It's a great time. And it's one thing to like try to make movies and shit. It's another thing to like do something that's a great equalizer. Making movies costs a lot of fucking money. Sitting down with a buddy and fucking talking to some microphones, very, very little.
You also have to deal with Bruce Willis sometimes.
Yes. There's that, man. You very rarely in the 2-hour course of a podcast, you wind up fucking hating someone so much, like, you step on their fucking neck. But it's on a movie set, there's a lot of time you could wind up not liking people. But on a podcast, pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
Yeah.